Hey everyone, it's PLUMioux here and welcome back to my channel for another part of the Broke Family Compound. So we are starting off with the makeovers like you guys requested, and we are here with Buck Broke, who has two children, Trigger Broke and Susie Broke. So as I was reading about Buck's backstory, it's actually really sad. So he is the widower of Mary Lou Broke, and he works at the Old Town Cemetery as a mausoleum clerk. And that kind of got me thinking that maybe Buck works with the dead because he's really missing Mary Lou. Now, she died from drowning, I believe. If we go and click on her Wikipedia page, she is a ghost, so she is in the game. And how did she die? Let's have a look. Oh, no, even worse than drowning. She died of starvation, you guys, which is sad, and it kind of ties it all together that they are broke. So they were so broke that Mary Lou died of starvation. So now Buck lives on the family compound with Flat and Flo and Skip and Ruby and his two children. And it's just super sad. So I had to show him a lot of Plum Love, and he is taking shape. And let me tell you guys, once I am finished with Buck Broke, he looks like a whole damn snack. He is beautiful. And you guys will notice once we get to the facial hair, I had a lot of trouble trying to choose what would look the best, but he doesn't even look the same. He's not recognizable once I am finished with him. And I feel like Buck needs to get back on the horse and start dating again. And he needs to get away from the dead because his lifetime wish is actually to be a rock star. And so he needs to go and live that rock star life. So his favorites are electronica, cobbler, and the color black. So you're going to notice that he's going to be wearing a lot of black, and his traits are a good sense of humor, flirty. He is a slob, he loves the outdoors, and he is a party animal. So really, his traits aren't that bad. I feel like Buck just needs somebody to love. And so when you start the game with the Brokes, Buck has two skill points in fishing. He's level 2. Guitar, he is level 5. And handiness, he is level 1. So you'll see once we get to his bedroom in his new trailer or modular home, I did put down a guitar for him so that he could kind of work towards living out his dream of becoming a rock star. But yeah, his story just really tugged at my heart, and I just want better for Buck Broke. I mean, just look at him. How could he not go out and get himself another woman if he so chose to do so? He is just beautiful. And now I'm going through the facial hair, but this goes on for quite some time because I really couldn't figure it out. Did I want him to have a little bit of stubble, a full-on beard? Did I want him to have a goatee? I just couldn't figure it out. Sideburns, I was stuck on this one for quite some time, and I even gave him some chest hair, and then I went to start his outfits, and then I was like, nope, we're gonna go with stubble and a chin strap. We're gonna give him that. I feel like this is very rock star. This is a very rock star look that I've given him. And then that's what I did with his clothes as well. I gave him a rock style makeover just so our friend here, Buck Broke, would be ready for the dating scene if he chose to do so, and the rock star lifestyle. I mean, look at him. He's gorgeous. But I'm gonna wrap it up here, and I'll pick up with you guys once we get to Trigger Broke. So welcome back. This is Trigger. He is the only teenager that lives on the family compound. So I haven't given a makeover to a teenager in a long time, and I was afraid I was going to have the same troubles that I kind of have with the children where they're very awkward. But Trigger kind of came together for me, and he just turns out to look so cute. So originally he wears a blue hat. He's got a gray t-shirt with a motorcycle on it and some gray jeans and some tattered shoes. Now I wanted to keep kind of the tatteredness going on with Trigger Broke. So he will be wearing a outfit that has jeans that have holes in it, but kind of like 90s cool ripped jeans, like Kurt Cobain type thing. That's what I was going for because, again, like Buck, Trigger is into his music. He has a guitar in his inventory when you start out, so I made sure there was space in case he wanted to play his guitar in his room, and maybe him and his father can have a jam session every now and again. I can imagine that Buck and Trigger are super duper close, especially with the loss of Mary Lou. It just really hurts my heart that Mary Lou is no longer with us and that she died of starvation. Now, Trigger is one of the few pre-made teenagers that has an A in school, so he is pretty darn smart. I made sure that there was a desk in his room, and he has one skill point in handiness, fishing, and guitar. So his favorites are electronica, like his dad, cookies, and the color gray. So you're going to see that he is wearing quite a bit of gray in his outfits. And his traits are good sense of humor, slob, he can't stand art, and he's a little bit clumsy. So he doesn't have bad traits, but he does have the slob trait. That's something that all of these Brokes have in common, is that they all have the slob trait. So I kind of tried to reflect that in their new modular home, is that they're not the neatest of people, but yeah, I just love how Trigger turns out. I just think he's adorable. And his little biography says, Trigger Broke has a hard time, but he always finds a way to laugh about it. If he can just get through high school, he thinks his life might just be good enough. So he's probably having a hard time because his mother is no longer with us. Oh, Mary Lou, I want to find her and turn her into a human and give her some plum love. But anyway, I'm gonna love you and leave you. Trigger has transformed into his new form, and I will pick up with you when we get to Susie. And here we are on to little Susie Broke, and honestly, looking at her in her original form, her eyes just terrified me. I don't understand why children's eyes are as wide as they are in The Sims 3. It's just flippin' scary. So I had to show her some extra plum love, just like I did with Skip Broke, because for some reason the children are just the stuff out of nightmares in The Sims 3, and I don't like it. But anyway, this is little Susie Broke. She is the younger sister of Trigger and the daughter of Buck Broke and Mary Lou Broke. There's not much known about Susie Broke. She doesn't appear in The Sims or The Sims 2, but it could be possible that she is alive at the start of Sims 2, and if she was to be recreated in The Sims 2, she'd probably be an elder or very late in her adult life stage. But in The Sims 3, Susie has one skill in logic, and she has a B in elementary school, and her little biography says Susie Broke is growing up in a family of party people. Sometimes she gets a bit wound up. Will she be the first in the family to take life seriously? So that is very interesting that little Susie kind of maybe wants to break away from the party lifestyle, but her favorites are kids, fruit parfait, yellow, and her traits are she is a slob like Trigger and Buck, and she is unlucky, and she is also very excitable. So I think it would be interesting to sort of play out Susie's life in The Sims 3 and see if she does in fact move away from the compound. Maybe her and Ruby Broke, who will be coming up next week, will escape together, because Ruby, as it says in her biography, is kind of ready to leave the family compound, but will she ever do it? Who knows, because she likes being close to her family. But anyway, this is little Susie Broke. I gave her some freckles. She's looking cute as a button, and I'm just putting on a little bit of makeup, not actual makeup, but something to sort of rouge her cheeks up a little bit, because you know how kids have those red rosy cheeks. I wanted to give those to Susie Broke just so she could look a little bit more alive, a little bit more happy. And I'm going through all my eyebrow choices at the moment, and I've settled on these, and I think they work for how she has turned out. She is a little cutie patootie, and I'm happy with how she turned out. So I'm gonna love you and leave you here for the rest of this portion of the family compound, and then I'll pick up with you when we get to the Trigger, Susie, and Buck Broke trailer. Here we are at Buck, Trigger, and Susie's trailer, and this thing goes through a massive transformation. As you guys just saw, we had Trigger and Susie's room at one end of the trailer and Buck's on the other. It stays that way. However, you can see that I have just extended it, widened it a little bit, and there are a lot of bump outs on this particular modular home. This is definitely the definition of a modular home or a double wide. I mean, just look at all of these bump outs. So when I originally started, I widened it to 6 across, and then at some point, and I can't remember where it is, I go down to 5 because 6 was just way too massive, and this bump out at the front on the right, it goes away because that is where Buck Broke's room is, and it just didn't need to be as big as it was. So in the end, I believe their modular home is 18 long and 5 wide, and that was just the perfect amount of space that they needed. It didn't need to go any bigger than that. But once I shortened it, it's not shortened it, but I squeezed it in by one tile, it makes all these bump outs look very, very weird, and it doesn't resemble a trailer anymore. So definitely a modular home. But here is the shape at the moment. Again, it will change. You will notice that once we get to the outside landscaping, but I don't believe that you will see it now. I went away several times and I came back and I looked at the outside and I was like, no, this just isn't gonna do for me. It just doesn't need to be that big. So I changed it, I chopped it, I changed it, I changed my mind. What's new? I'm a sloth, I'm indecisive, and you know, this is just my channel. So you can see that I'm putting on some blue siding. It does get darker than that. I believe in the next clip that we go to, I did darken it off camera because it was just a little too happy blue. And I feel like with Buck Broke living in this particular trailer, he's not the happiest of chappies. So I went a little bit darker, and there's a lot of darkness on the inside. So yes, I've darkened the outside of the trailer, and we're making the windows, recoloring them right now. But this is the shape of their trailer. And I really do like how it turns out. I say that about everything that I do, but what do I always say, you guys? If I don't like it, I'm not going to show it to you. So I'm recoloring all of the windows, and we're just doing the decking at the moment. And then I believe we're going to go inside. Yes, we are. And we're going to do the flooring. So very, very dark red cherry flooring's going on in here. And I have to say, this one isn't as run down as Flat Flow and Skip's trailer is. It's maybe a step up, but it's still a modular home. It's a double wide, so it's not got expensive stuff in here. But this is the kitchen. This is where I always start, and I started with a backsplash of, I wanted sort of subway tiles back there, and I wanted to make them black because that is Buck's favorite color. But I do go back and I change it. You can see the wood paneling that's still left from the original trailer, and I use that as backsplash, which again, probably not the smartest thing in the world in real life to have wood as a backsplash, because you know, things can catch on fire. But you know, it's The Sims, it's fine, it works, it's okay. So I am recoloring the cabinets, and I noticed something that I always usually do. The cabinets are the first thing that I will recolor, and then I will go and lay down everything else in the house before then going back, not everything else, but everything else in the area before then going back and doing the recoloring. And I caught myself doing that. So once we get to Ruby Broke's trailer or modular home next week, I didn't do that, and you guys, we'll talk about that when we get there. But yeah, I thought that was something strange that I do when I decorate. But here is the kitchen, and they have a proper dining room table, seating for 4, which they don't need seating for 4, but you know, in case the party spills over into this trailer or this modular home, there's definitely more seating for more guests. So that's just what I wanted to do. But yes, this is the layout of the kitchen and the dining room, and then we're going to scoosh over and we're going to do the living area, which is just across from it at the moment. So this is one of those bump outs that I've created, and then also the living room is another bump out that I've created. And we've got this little hallway. So on the right we have got Buck's bedroom, and also he's got his own master bathroom. And this is where I started to think, wow, this is really, really wide. It doesn't need to be that wide. But I think I shortened the front, not shortened, but I squeezed it in. I squeezed in the front and not the back. I think that's how I went. I'm not sure. But you guys probably won't even notice what I'm talking about, but you can see how wide everything is, and it just doesn't need to be that wide. So I changed it up a little bit. You would never know that this was a trailer park. I mean, it's definitely gotten an upgrade, and I really, 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 really love this trailer because it's dark colors. I don't do a lot of dark colors. The only room that isn't dark is Susie's room, because I wanted to give her a light and sort of girly area. Her favorite color is yellow, so you're gonna see pops of yellow throughout the home. I end up putting one of those little baking stations in this little hallway area because I didn't know what to do with it, and I thought they're all slobs, so it would make sense. Let's have a little cooking station in the hallway, and then you're gonna see a lot of Susie's toys on the coffee table. And I thought that's how I'm gonna clutter this up, is just having knickknacks here and there throughout the house, because why the frickin' heck not? So there's the cooking station, and Susie can work on her cooking skill, and I'm just putting out some toys, and now we are starting to recolor. So I've put down that wood paneling in the back, and I've kind of made it look a little bit like it's is it rustic or it's distressed? I would go with distressed. It's distressed. So not going for the it's not all nice. I don't know how it's not particularly run down, but it's not nice. Does that make sense? And for some reason, I had it in my head that the darker the colors, the messier it made it, but that's not true. I mean, I love dark colors, and I'm not a huge slob. I mean, maybe I'm a little bit of a slob, but I don't know. For some reason, I just thought dark equaled messy, and that's not true. That's not true at all. So we're just going through and changing everything to black, again paying homage to Buck's favorite color. And then we have pops of blue in the hallway and the kitchen area. And then there's that yellow for Susie's little baking station. And I wanted to do that trick again where I had a cork board or a bulletin board, and then I hid the backpack and the jacket inside of it so you don't see the stars. I don't know why this item from Seasons has stars on it, because I just don't know why they would do that. So I decided to hide it behind the bulletin board. And I am changing all the wood to distressed again, because I think that makes things look a little bit more run down when you've got distressed woods. Either that or it's chic. But because I'm going for run down, that's what it's gonna be. So we're almost finished with the living room, and then we are going to pop over to the right to Buck's room, and that's when you'll notice that it is a bit smaller. Before, again, it was 6 wide, now it is 5 wide because it just didn't need to be as big as it was. And you're going to notice that Buck's room doesn't take me very long, and this is because this was actually one of the, this is the first bedroom that I did, but when I went to do this room, my footage got corrupted. So what I did is I saved all the presets that I had already laid down, and that's why we don't see any indecision happening here. It's all laid out for me. It's all perfectly fine. The only difference, the only thing that I forgot to do was I did not put a stereo in there like I had originally. So I did that off camera, and you'll see that in the pictures. Now I did both bathrooms off camera, as well as there's a little study area, and I put a really old computer there because I thought maybe that is where Buck could go to do his online dating if he wanted to do that. I wanted him to have his own little space and didn't want him to have to go into public to do some online dating. So here we are in Trigger's room. Originally I was going to give Trigger a double bed because I had the space for it, but I thought a single bed, we'll put a desk in there because he is our A-star student. So he needed his own desk in order to do his homework, and then put in a bookshelf. And this is pretty much the layout of Trigger's room. And originally, when you first go into this particular trailer, Susie and Trigger share a bedroom, and I didn't think that was fair. I thought, you know, what teenage boy wants to share a room with his little sister? I know that in some circumstances things like that can't be helped, but you know, I'm showing this family some plum love as much as I possibly can, so we're going to make space for 2 bedrooms for the 2 kids. And so they've got their own little wing, and the only reason that Buck would ever have to come on this side of the wing is again to use the computer, which you can see in the top of the screen at the moment. And I just wanted this little area to be the kids area, and they've got their own bathroom that they can share, so there is no real like guest bathroom. A guest couldn't get access to the bathroom. Well, I mean, technically in The Sims they could just walk through the bedrooms, but how flippin' rude is that to walk through the bedrooms of your host? So I'm hoping that none of the guests will do that. Maybe they'll go to Flat Flow and Skip's trailer because they've got a bathroom that guests can access. So just going through, and I am recoloring the walls at the moment. Everything else is pretty much as it's going to stay, except after recoloring the walls, I looked at the bedspread and I was like, this is not going to work. Did I just say breadspread? I can never say that word, bedspread. It's not breadspread. Anyway, yes, so I am now changing the bed up because I didn't like it with the walls. I really love how the walls looked, and I've just got this like 90s vibe, this 90s rocker vibe for Trigger. So that's what I went for with the really dark colors. And I know his favorite color is gray, but I decided to use a lot of green with some dark blue accents and some black, and I just think it looks really, really good. So we are on to Susie's little bedroom, which again is a bump out. I gave her a little 1 square bump out just so she could have some extra room, and then I did put a desk in her room as well as a toy chest, and then somewhere for her to sit. She does not have a bookshelf in her room like her brother does, but there is a bookshelf. I think there's a bookshelf in the living area, so if she wants wants to read a book, you know, she can pop out there and sit with the family if she chooses to do so. But I used that little poof puff thing, and I really like that. I think it came with the Bohemian store set, if I'm remembering correctly. Another thing that you guys should know is there is no CC still on this lot, and I am very, very proud of that, because sometimes I just really want to use CC patterns or I want to use CC flooring, but I'm trying to, you know, make this more accessible, I would say, so you guys don't have to blow up your computers with CC, because once you start on CC, you're just not going to stop. It's like falling down a deep, dark hole that you could never, ever, ever get out of, and I don't want that for you guys. I don't want your computers to just explode on you. So I've kept it out thus far. We'll see what happens when we get to Ruby's trailer next week, but we are almost finished with, well, we're not almost finished. We've started the recoloring process. And so the coloring that I went for in Susie's room is the lightest room in this modular home. I went for pastels. Her favorite color, like I said, is yellow. So I've got pastel yellow, pastel pink, pastel blue, and then I do pastel pink and yellow, a combination on the walls, and I think it's really, really cute how it turns out. Probably I wouldn't say Susie is the girliest of girls, but I just thought that I would give her a cute little girl's room. But who's to say that a boy can have a pink pastel room? But you know, I'm going with it. I'm going with the flow. So we've got green pastels. It's kind of, her room kind of reminds me of an Easter egg, and Easter is coming up, which makes me super excited. It's not one of my favorite holidays, but you know, we get 2 bank holidays for Easter, so I think that's why I am super duper excited for that. And I will be playing and recording and filming a lot of Sims content, because I have got a 4-day weekend. Boop, 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 boop. So I've just changed the bedspread for bedspread. Why does that word trip me up? And we're almost finished, and we're doing this pink pastel on the walls and giving her a new light, and then we are going to go onto the outside. So that is the inside of Buck, Trigger, and Susie's new modular home, and I really love it, even though it is an awkward shape now, but it works. So here we are on the outside. You can see that little bump out that was on Buck's room is now gone, and I've squished in the sides of the modular home a little bit more, so it's now 5 across at the main. It's 5 across on the main areas, and then you've got bump outs, even though the 5 across is a little bit jagged and it's not straight across. I'm rambling now, it just doesn't make sense, but it makes sense to me, so that's completely fine. But here is the landscaping, and I didn't leave a lot of the landscaping in because it's just rocks and it's shrubs and it's the pathway. But someone suggested, and I believe it was Kezzy Sims that suggested, that I put in a play area for Susie and Skip, so that is what I did. I put that to the left as we're seeing it now, and it's just a little play area for them to kind of hang out, and I put it on this side instead of the other side where there's more room, because Skip and Susie live in these 2 trailers that are kitty corner to each other, so it just made sense to make it closest to them. But I've put a seesaw in, I put a tree house in, and that's another place where they could sleep, and I'm wondering if the tree house provides better sleep than their low quality beds that I've put in their bedrooms. I don't know. That would be very interesting to find out. But we are coming up to the very end of part 2 of the Broke Family Compound. There are a ton of screenshots for you guys to check out, so I think I'm going to love you and leave you guys for the rest of the video with some music. But if you enjoyed this part, make sure to do all those cool interweb things like comment and subscribe. Make sure you've got that bell ding dong so you can be notified whenever I do upload. But for now, I'm gonna skedaddle. Don't be a plum stranger now, guys.